Key takeaways from the past week. Of course, Vladimir Zelensky is very, very keen on us sending over fighter jets. He said he needs the wings to protect Ukraine's freedom. What are the chances of us sending them?
I think pretty minimal at the moment. Ben Wallace is quite right. You've got to admire Zelensky. I mean, he's a very courageous leader and a leader in the true sense of the word, which sadly we lack elsewhere around Europe, I think. But the chances of him getting UK jets, I think, are minimal. You've got to remember, what does he want these aeroplanes for? I mean, we need to be, we don't want to get sucked into air doctrine here, but there are lots of different types of aeroplanes that achieve different things. Fighter ground attack, supporting infantry on the ground, offensive air support, and whether you're trying to get air superiority in a particular place for a particular period of time, or air supremacy, where you're trying to dominate the airspace. There's all sorts of different aeroplanes that fit those molds and others, and they're very complicated bits of kit. You can train people to fly them, and we are actually, the UK is going to train people to fly them, but you've then got to have a mass of logistic support to maintain these very complex weapon systems. Every time they go out and come back, somebody needs to be working on them. You need the manuals in the right language, you need the spare parts, you need the engineers, and all of the various aspects of the logistic support. So they're very complex systems. And I think Ben Wallace is right to say we won't send any UK aircraft. Frankly, our UK aircraft fleet has been very busy over the last few years. It's not that large in terms of numbers. And notwithstanding Boris Johnson's comment, I think the chances of us sending our own aeroplanes is minimal. So I can understand why Zelensky wants them in one sense, but I'm certainly not clear what he intends to do with them and how he intends to support them once they've been deployed.
So as it stands, we don't know what Zelensky's intentions are with fighter jets if he were to receive them. Is he being a little overambitious with his strategy just as a whole?
No, I don't think so. I think if you were in his position or I was there, I think we would be asking for all of this stuff. He's had a process of asking for, first of all, defensive capability, anti-tank missiles and all the stuff that we sent him in the early days. And we, the UK, were very much ahead of the curve on this, and we should be, we should recognise that ourselves. So, defensive equipment to try and stop the Russians moving in, which they succeeded in doing. He's now trying to move into the ability to conduct offensive operations, which are very different to conducting defensive operations, not just on the ground, but in the air as well. So he's asking for armoured vehicles, which was where he started, our long-range artillery systems and rocket systems. Then, of course, main battle tanks, which has been in the media and in the news over the last few weeks. Again, the danger is he'll end up with a mixed fleet of very complex systems, would have to be sustained and so on. But from his point of view, he wants to generate an ability to conduct combined arms operations on the ground and in the air to conduct offensive operations against the Russians. Now, the issue is, and I don't think they're going to wait this long, the Russians are not going to hang around waiting for all this stuff to arise, which is why this offensive operation that they're going to conduct, which people are talking about they're ready to do now, could well preempt a lot of this conversation. I think we in the West, we've said for a long time we don't want Ukraine to lose this. Now, what do we mean by that? Question mark. And secondly, what happens if Russia does break through in a major offensive, either from the north through Belarus or from the east through the Donbass? What are we going to do then? So I don't have a problem with President Zelensky. He's fighting his corner. He's fighting his battle. He's trying to defend his country. He wants as much stuff as he can get his hand on. But we need to be clear, what's he going to do with that stuff? How's he going to sustain it and maintain it? And how is he going to be able to train and prepare people for complicated offensive operations? Very different to sitting in trenches and defending terrain.